What I'm going to talk about in this session is really how I use dragging sleds for sprinting and how I'm very meticulous about what I'm exactly using the sled for. A lot of people will think just dragging heavy weight is going to make you faster, but I'm going to show you some ways that I use the dragging sled that I think truly make you faster if you do it right. And so, like I said, a lot of people will use a dragging sled and think, okay, I have to move heavy weight, and that's what's going to make me faster. I'll be more powerful, I'll be stronger, and hence I'll be faster. And if you've been in this game for a while, you know that it's not that simple. I will say that there are clear benefits for using the sleds, some of it physiological, some of it technical, but we'll break it down and I'll show you what I think are some of the important points. So if we look at what's happening in acceleration, and I think I'll point out that in most cases, I'm using the sled from, in most cases, about 0 to 30 meters. And there's some reasons for that in terms of it fitting with acceleration mechanics and what's actually happening on the track. So if we look at the angle here, this is probably the most important thing for me, is acceleration angle. So I'm using the sled in order to provide support so that this athlete can achieve an acceleration angle. And then we're working over 0 to 30 meters so that we can get more repetitions at working that angle. And if you're in that position and you're pulling the sled and you're running, then you are working on the muscles that are required to run in that position for 30 meters, which is early acceleration and is really going to form the basis of how you get to max velocity. So I'm really focused on providing enough weight to get people in the right position. And this is no different if I use an incline or hill, or we use bands or some other tethered device to get people to hold that position. And one of the most important parts of this is starting in the right position. I will do a lot of falling starts, getting people to fall as far as they can so that they can hit the right position and then accelerate from there. So once they have that angle, then getting them to accelerate, and the sled will hold them into position so that we can again train those muscles specifically for acceleration. Does the sled have to be heavy? No. A lot of the time I'll only use about 20 pounds, 25 pounds, maybe 30 pounds, but really that is about 10% of the body weight of the athlete, maybe a little bit more, but certainly we want it heavy enough so that they can hold position. And like I said, anything that we're doing to get them to fall in position, we have to practice that. So if it's a falling start, we're practicing that. If it's a 3-point start, we're practicing the right position and right launch angle using resistance. And then we're filming, reviewing, showing them this is how I want you to fall, this is how far I want you to fall, this is what you look like when you launch yourself. And so the resistance is really a tool to get the posture in the right place. And certainly there's other benefits in terms of core musculature and strengthening that as part of the acceleration position. So a lot of the time people say you have poor core musculature and we have to work on your core because you're not in an extended position. When a lot of the time it's all about coordinating limbs, it's timing, it's falling into the right position. And certainly if you want to specifically target the core musculature, doing some sort of resisted work and accelerating or working up a hill is going to develop those muscles specifically. So I don't think doing a lot of planks or any other core work is going to get you there. You have to do it specifically. You can do a lot of that stuff to support your core musculature for acceleration, but you need to do this as well. And there's been a lot of research around heavy sled work, and I would say I'm not opposed to it, but I'm very careful with it. So what I would probably do is I would probably focus on some of the shorter distances, the first 10 meters if you're going to use something heavier. And then as you get a little further out, I don't think it's going to make a big difference. It might even slow you down a bit, but I'm certainly going to work with a lighter sled out to about 30. So just be careful with the weights that you choose. If it looks right and you ask the athlete, how did that feel? They might say, well, it feels a little more difficult, but I can still get into a rhythm and get into my stride pattern and hold position really well. Then that's great. So something as simple as having a conversation with your athlete. So now we're going to talk a bit about programming and how I would work in the sled work. So this is just a really simple example of what I might do. And I like the idea of providing contrast so that you can have a rep or set with the sled and then you can have it without. And I would say I always finish without the sled because I want them feeling natural. But you may start out and do something like 5 by 10 with a sled, and you could pick a falling start, because again, I want them to fall into the right position and feel it proprioceptively and have that awareness. And then I want them to repeat, so no sled, that same fall, and find the right position, because now they have some confidence after doing it with the sled, and then accelerate 4 by 20 with appropriate recovery. So it might be at least a minute to a minute and a half here, maybe a little longer, 2 to 3 minutes, and then we'll go back to the sled for reinforcement and confidence going over a longer distance. And still, it might be, maybe we do 3-point starts. So we change the start slightly. We know that they're going to hit the right launch position, but I want them working a little longer. So 4 by 20 with the sled with probably 3 to 4 minute recoveries. And then we're going to go to 3 by 30, no sled, and you can do falling starts or 3-point starts here, but they get to feel the full acceleration over 30 without the sled, so they can find their position, hit everything well technically, and run as fast as possible. But I do like the idea of having some contrast in here so they can build some awareness. Now you might ask, well, what about within sets? Yes, you can do that as well. So you might go half of these, or every other rep in the 4 by 20 could be with a sled or without a sled, and all the way through. And you might go 130 here, then with a sled over 30, and then finish with a 30 without the sled. So there can be intra-rep variability with the sled or without the sled. But the whole idea is, 1, you're loading them. We know that. That's obvious. 2, we're working on posture and position, and we're working to maintain that over a longer distance with the sled and hold position and work those muscles. And 3, we're building confidence, and we're just getting somebody to run faster eventually with no sled, holding the right position. So it's all about physiological loading, but also technical conditioning. And that's what I'm trying to do with the sled. So if you have any more questions about how to program with the sleds, you can provide me with a direct message or leave some comments below, and I'd be happy to give you my opinion. Thank you very much.